This Lasius neo-Niger queen has amassed a large amount of brood as well as 3 workers to accompany her. But to further boost the reproductive capacity of my colonies, I bought a queen cell from the hive of the European honeybee. As the name suggests, if the larvae in the cell were left to develop, it would turn into a queen bee. The cell is packed with royal jelly, which is full of carbs, proteins, and fats. First, I fed the jelly to my Camponotus pennsylvanicus colony, more commonly known as the black carpenter ant. The workers sip the jelly up. This will allow the queen to have more nutrients to lay eggs. Before, I was just feeding her honey. This is one of 3 Tetramorium colonies I have, more commonly known as payment ants. They grow very fast. You can see that this queen has amassed some larvae and pupae. Some colonies can grow larger than 1,000 workers in a year. They are an invasive species in North America but have become very widespread. These ants thrive in urban environments. As their name suggests, they're found under pavement like sidewalks and patios, also under building foundations. They are monogynous, meaning they have one queen, and in the spring, swarms of them are often found battling for territory. This Camponotus herculeanus queen has only 2 eggs. These colonies grow very slow. She tends to her eggs dutifully. Like other carpenter ant species, they like to nest in logs and rotting wood, and occasionally in the timbers of your home. After a week, her eggs have hatched and turned into larvae. However, significant mold growth has occurred within the test tube, and she will probably need to move. This is my second Tetramorium colony. It is larger and has more workers as well as brood. If you look closely at the cotton in their test tube, you can see it's kind of pink. I'll talk about this later. Here is the first colony again. When I caught this queen ant, she still had her wings, which have been broken off, and you can see them clearly in the footage. When catching a queen ant, broken wings aren't a 100% sign of fertility. This queen now has lots of workers and brood. Queen ants can gain the necessary nutrients to start their colonies by digesting the wing muscles which they use during their mating flight. There are no uses for these muscles since they will never fly. I have not fed this colony once. The workers range in color because many of them have just emerged from pupation. The lighter ones are younger and the darker ones are older. I fed both these colonies some royal jelly. Here is the third and youngest Tetramorium colony I have. The other 2 colonies were caught on the same date, and this queen was caught later. She has no workers and just brood. Although I've caught many genuses of queen ants in the past, this is my first time dealing with Tetramorium. So I was very shocked when I found out they could tunnel through the cotton. This footage was taken right after I dealt with the problem, but you can clearly see the tunnels through the cotton that I'm using to plug the nest. I think it has something to do with the brand that I'm using. Before I was using cotton balls, but I ran out and I had to use the pads used to remove makeup. I was ripping them up and using them instead. I think this makes it easier for the ants to tunnel through. Here I am feeding them cups of royal jelly. Using a fine needle, I poked very small holes into the caps to make sure airflow could still happen, but the ants couldn't crawl out. But before I did this, I had to catch any workers who were crawling outside the test tube and put them back into their respective colonies. What I noticed is that only the workers from colony 2 were crawling out, and they were tunneling into colony 1. They also overnight amassed a large population that even a queen ant couldn't lay. Meanwhile, all the brood from colony 1 disappeared, and there were only 4 eggs, which were probably laid very recently. This led me to believe that maybe colony 2 had stolen all the brood from colony 1. However, I couldn't find any scientific papers talking specifically about brood stealing and Tetramorium immigrants. But brood stealing is very common in the subfamily Myrmicinae, which Tetramorium is a part of. Many ants you are probably familiar with are in this group, such as big-headed ants, acrobat ants, leafcutter ants, fire ants. It is the largest ant subfamily. But I will learn from this mistake and put caps on all my test tubes to make sure no escapes can happen. Before I was using Ants Canada tubes, but now I'm using ones from a lab with screw-on lids. Thank you for watching.